So who do you believe? Mainstream media and the newspapers, or independent journalists?
Check here. Contrary to President Trump's latest social media post, Portland is not war ravaged. There's no insurrection, there's no threat to national security, and there's no need for military troops. Military service members should be dedicated to real emergencies. And that's exactly what I said to the president when I asked him to stand down from sending federal troops into our city. But just in case that phone call wasn't enough, I thought I would take to the streets myself right here in downtown Portland. I'm standing just blocks away from the waterfront, overlooking the beautiful Willamette River, Portland City Hall, the federal courthouse, and dozens of shops and restaurants here in the central city. We do have challenges here in Portland, in Oregon, and across the country. The cost of living is too high, we need to build more housing that people can afford, and we need to always work on having the best schools possible. So let's keep the focus on the real problems, not the made-up ones.
So less than a week ago, the governor, one senator, and multiple other elected officials visited Portland just to reassure everybody that Portland was fine. Suspiciously or deliberately, they avoided the most concentrated area of homelessness, drug use, and honestly deaths in the entire city.
So the reason why I say Portland's more of a hellhole than a war zone is because I'm seeing things like this from independent journalists who actually live there. Now, quick disclosure, this person didn't make it. He died of an overdose right there on the streets of Portland. This is Kevin Dahlgreen. I think that's how you say his name. Sorry, Kevin, if I'm butchering your last name there. But he is a reporter, an independent journalist, who goes around and documents the drug use on the streets of Portland.
We'll have dope on you.
So how many grams is this?
It's about 1 to 5 grams.
This is 3 grams? Okay.
About 3 grams, yeah.
Wow. And how much did that cost?
I'm not sure. I got this in trade, so.
Oh, trade?
But,
and how long will this last?
I've only done just a tiny bit of it since last night, so.
Well, that's a big chunk there.
Yeah. This will last at least probably 3 to 4 days.
Okay.
Then there's another one that works closely with him named Tara Fowl, who is a photojournalist and takes these amazing photos, but there are also photos of the drug use on Portland streets. So to say that Portland is totally clean, every time I've been there, I don't go there often, but every time I go there, that's not the case. So the war ravaged part that Trump's talking about is only a block wide, and that's where all the protests outside the ICE buildings going on. But if that's the case, then why can't we handle a block?
I just want to emphasize, this is one city block. City of Portland is about 145 square miles. This is one city block. And even the events that are happening down there do not rise to the level of attention that they are receiving. We are seeing this true for our society in whole. I'm not going to try and editorialize too much, but these, 30-second, 20-second, 15-second clips that are brought in from months ago or maybe even years ago. We've seen Portland portrayed through the events of the lens of 20 and 21.
Some are even accusing Portland police of taking the side of Antifa protesters rather than the side of the citizens. Here's a clip of a couple ladies trying to get to their house, and the police threatened them with arrest. Check this out.
Think about this. What are you doing? That way. Do not go to the crowd of people. If you go to this crowd of people, you will be stopped and arrested. Thank you. Do not try and play that game with me right now. Man, do not play that game with me right now. We're not going to a crowd of people in this car. Back it up and take a left. If you go to this crowd of people, you will be arrested.
So Portland police are also being accused of taking the side of the protesters when it comes to violent acts against conservative journalists or journalists reporting on the narrative that they don't want displayed.
Yeah, that's absolutely correct. So last night I got assaulted and I immediately ran to a Portland police officer hunted down the suspect, chased her through the streets and said, "This is my assault suspect. Can you guys finally do something?" And I had eyes on her for about 35 minutes. Portland police refused to come in and make an arrest. And I had 3 officers.
Now, this article, it's actually a letter from the editor of the Oregonian. And first off, I have to say the cover photo is awesome. So to give credit, this photo is by Allison Barr from the Oregonian. Now, here's the thing though. I went on to CNN, and this is where I first saw the photo. And the headline for the CNN article is Trump authorizes the National Guard in Chicago as judge temporarily blocks his plans to deploy federal troops in Portland. Well, this is obviously a photo of the same person. I think the one that the Oregonian used is way better, but the CNN article doesn't say who the photo's from or who took the photo. It doesn't give photo credits to Allison Barr here, which is an excellent photo of what's going on. Tina Kotek, our governor, says that Trump deploying the National Guard is going to cost taxpayers $10 million. At the same time, she just passed a tax law increasing gas prices and registration fees and all that stuff, CDL licenses, that are going to cost way more than that. So she kind of doesn't have a leg to stand on when it comes to how taxpayer money is spent. The Oregonian and Oregon Live's reporters and photographers have been in regular contact with sources, and we've been on the scene daily in South Portland's U.S. Immigration and Custom Enforcement facilities, so we are able to update Oregonians as quickly as possible when and if troops arrive. This leads up to what will likely be tense times for Portland, and has been riddled with misinformation, along with President Donald Trump's stream of mischaracterizations of the level of violence and vandalism seen at the protests at the ICE buildings. Outside media have at times used photos and videos from intense protests here in 2020. As the Oregonian Live's Amy Green wrote yesterday, it is true that there has been serious clashes and protests over the summer, though most occurred back in June. While participants have jumped a few times to a couple hundred people this year, there's typically around a couple dozen who play drums, dress up in inflatable animal costumes, and play loud music and scream obscenities at ICE officers. That behavior, and federal officers use tear gas to stop it, have drawn serious complications from people who live and do business in the area.
Trump is sending the National Guard in here. I live in this building. We both live in this building. We've been asking for help for months, and we're finally going to get it.
When do you think they're coming?
When? Not soon.
So this is where she goes into the whole believe us and not them thing. That's why reading trusted local news sources is important. Oregonian, are you really a trusted local news source? To me, you are a trusted news source if you believe one side of the political aisle and not down the middle as news should be. Reading a lot of the Oregonian stuff, they are heavily left-leaning. So I'm going to leave that part there. We've had reporters regularly cover the protests in South Portland over the past few months, allowing us to publish numerous stories, photos, and videos that help us Truth Squad rhetoric coming out today. By the anticipation of Trump's deployment of troops, we are ramping up our presence. For at least the next 2 weeks, teams of reporters and photographers from the Oregonian will monitor nightly protests at the ICE facility. That is on top of reporting what we do during the day. It's not easy work. Already, one of our reporters was doxxed and receiving threatening remarks online after asking to interview someone about the veracity of Trump's remarks. On Saturday, 2 other Oregonian journalists were doused with tear gas after federal officers sprayed it into a relatively peaceful crowd. That's rarely true with reports from some national media outlets. Social media influencers and video streamers. Okay, so social media influencers and video streamers, when it comes to them, those are who I believe. I don't believe the Oregonian because I used to work at a newspaper, and they are paid off by advertisers. And if an advertiser doesn't like the stories you're posting, guess what? They're not going to advertise. So yeah, I don't believe what mainstream, and I consider the Oregonian a mainstream paper. I don't believe that the Oregonian has more credible sources or credible stance on the news than independent journalists. If you like this type of reporting, I try to stay down the middle with it. Hit that like, follow, subscribe, all that good stuff. You guys are watching my content, but you guys aren't subscribing to it. So please subscribe to it. It helps me out. And I'll see you in the next video.